It's always a tricky situation. You don't want your film to fit into that archetype of the genre of film you're making. And you want to point that out in your film, but at the same time, sometimes in trying to point it out, you still become an archetype of that genre of film. You get what I'm saying?
We are no longer merely suspects. We are also potential victims.
And today we have, we'll knock the hat off, See How They Run. It's just, yeah, it's a whodunit with some faces and names you might know and recognize, and that's about all I can say is that there's a play going on, somebody gets bumped off, and then trying to figure out who done it, who done did diddly did do it. This one is directed by a Tom George, who evidently has been directing television, like British television shows since 2015, and never done a movie, never directly directed a movie before. So this is technically his directorial debut. Look at that. This, I tell you, 2022 has been a year of directorial debuts. Actually, quite a few names you might recognize in the cast, but our two main leads, which is also kind of a cliche that we arrive in, but they acknowledge and they point it out and they still run with it, but it's the whole experienced, hard-boiled, drunk detective with the young, optimistic, youthful protagonist. We have, funny enough, Sam Rockwell, who I like him a lot. I dare say I even love Sam Rockwell. He's been in a lot of stuff before that I've enjoyed him in. I just found it funny that they chose him to come in here and be like a British detective, which, I mean, he does, I think, a good job. I just thought it caught me off guard. I saw him, I was like, why do I know that face? And then I saw the credits, I was like, oh, that's why I know that face. I keep getting her name wrong, but she was the optimistic young constable, Saoirse Ronan? Saoirse? Yeah, she's great. She's been, turns out, in a boatload of stuff. My personal reference would be probably Agatha from Grand Budapest Hotel. But in general, she also, for those of you that have been around and watching films maybe as long as I have, Susie Salmon, the poor girl from Lovely Bones, which, watch the movie, sure, maybe don't read the book. See How They Run. Was it good? Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. It was, it's average, right? Like, it wasn't anything special. If you want to see, like, really good whodunits, I can go on about other films that have done, like, the whodunit genre better, or more twists and turns, more creativity. There's better films you could watch out there. But I will say it was enjoyable, and the film does try to be different. Like, they acknowledge the fact that the whodunit genre, like, literally in the film, they're acknowledging the fact that all these films have been done before. These tropes have been done before, and they're trying to subvert the tropes. But also, while subverting the tropes, films nowadays have already tried doing that. There are films that have tried to parody the genre of which they're already doing. So they're not really breaking any ground here. I mean, it's still, like, creative and fun and funny, and in a way they do successfully kind of parody themselves and set themselves apart from the crowd, a bit, but not enough for you to write home about. Cinematography, I liked it. It was creative. They kept doing these shots where it's like two screens, two different things going on top or above each other or next to each other, which adds, I guess, a layer of cinema technicality to, I don't know how you would phrase it, but it just adds another layer to the visual aesthetic. Funny enough, a lot of the shots and pans and all that are very Wes Anderson-esque reminiscent. It's not like symmetrical or beautifully framed or so many details hidden in the shots, but I think it's the camera movements and characters moving around and that little split screen motif that is being utilized and reoccurring that gives me the vibes of a Wes Anderson film. I feel like this would have been this director's reference a little bit. I can see where there'd be inspiration there. I think it's handled well. It's neat, and it just made me think of another director, really. It's funny seeing Sam Rockwell as a drunken British detective, but I don't hate it. Like, I like their characters. I don't think they were like developed as well as they could have been, but I still, still enjoyable. All the other actors do a fine job. Hell, Adrian Brody's in it. The guy that's Ralph Fiennes' son in The King's Man, he's in it. There's a bunch of recognizable faces. Hell, Moaning Myrtle's in it. But when it comes down to it, I don't know. It was good, but then also kind of just had an average progression. And by the third act, I could see what they were trying to do, though there is a decent twist that I half saw coming, but also admittedly didn't see coming. Decent twist, but execution on the third act, it makes everything kind of feel a bit melodramatic and quick and undeserved, and just, I think could have been built up more, polished a bit better, could have had more, stakes or development, just could have had more work and effort put into it. I could see what they were trying to do, and it would have been fun for like a high school stage play, but I don't know, didn't quite do it for me. And I think my biggest complaint is for our two main characters, we get some development for each of them, but as a whole, we don't get enough development. Like, I cared enough about them and what happened to them, but I never was like, oh, I love this guy. Oh, yeah, this guy's a great character. Oh, she's great. I love her. I hope she makes it. Or, oh, I hope he overcomes this or that. Like, I never felt like I was really rooting or was really in someone's corner. Just, they existed. I liked them enough, but I don't think they were fleshed out enough, which is unfortunate. On the whole, I don't really have a whole lot to say about the movie. See how they run? I mean, I think you could probably skip it in theaters. It's a good streaming movie. You can just probably watch it at home one night, with your date or your friend or friends if you're into this kind of genre of whodunit film or something. It's not a bad watch. It's just average. And for that average reason, average review, I'd say see how they run. Solid, rock solid 3 out of 5. We'll give it a 3 out of 5. It is just average, not below or above. It's a film that exists that I got a decent amount of enjoyment from it, a modicum of enjoyment. But I mean, if you want to see a better, I don't know, I think of Hot Fuzz. It's much more violent whodunit, but really, it's at its core, Hot Fuzz is a really good, well-paced whodunit with some really good characters throughout. Just to name one example, or you could watch, Bad Times at the El Royale. That's a fun one. The point being, there's a lot of films out there that I think do this, and while this does it a decent job, does it well enough, there's other films that do it very well and so much better, which you could watch instead. That's all I got to say about See How They Run. It's unfortunate, but I'll probably forget this film by the end of the year. It's not going on any lists, but I didn't waste my time. It was okay. I chuckled and laughed throughout, and looks good. Actors do a good job. Decent little twist, but third act, like I said, a little bit undeserved, melodramatic. Actors, although they're okay, didn't feel invested in anybody. Nobody was fleshed out or developed enough to my taste, so that's just me. But hey, as always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode or whatever, hopefully at least good movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.